and if it holds up under scrutiny, the Utah discovery could pave the way for an unlimited, clean, and cheap supply of energy for the entire world. There are two types of nuclear energy, fusion and fission. The most familiar is nuclear fission. That's when two atoms are split apart. The power and energy that result from this split were first seen in the atomic bomb that devastated Japan during World War II. Today, nuclear fission is relatively commonplace, produced and controlled in nuclear reactors, but it's expensive and has many drawbacks, especially safety. 10 years ago, the 3 Mile Island nuclear reactor in Pennsylvania leaked massive amounts of radiation into the environment. More recently, the nuclear accident at Chernobyl killed 31 and injured thousands. It was recently revealed that the vegetables grown in the countryside around the nuclear reactor are still contaminated with radiation almost 3 years after the accident. Also, the radioactive waste, which results from fission, is extremely dangerous and costly to dispose of. And the question of where to dump it has become a major environmental battle. Nuclear fusion, on the other hand, has few such problems. Fusion occurs when atoms collide. This fusion releases tremendous power and energy. Fusion is what makes a hydrogen bomb explode. But unlike atomic energy, scientists have been unable to convert fusion into practical use, an effort they've pursued for the past 35 years. The advantages of fusion are many. It's less radioactive, therefore the waste disposal problem is reduced, if not almost eliminated. And the power released by fusion would be inexpensive and abundant, capable of supplying the energy needs of the entire world. Here with us now to explain their work and its implications are the two researchers. Stanley Pons is a professor of chemistry at the University of Utah. His collaborator is Martin Fleischmann, a professor of electrochemistry at the University of Southampton in England. Gentlemen, to you both, congratulations. Your discovery is being hailed as a breakthrough. Professor Pons, how accurate is that?
Well, it certainly is a breakthrough in the field of nuclear fusion. We have a cell which is comprised simply of a block of metal which is immersed in deuterium oxide, which is heavy water. And the amount of heavy water present on the Earth, of course, is enormous. It's virtually an inexhaustible source of fuel, if it can be used for a fuel.
Heavy water is, what makes it heavy water? I mean,
well, unlike normal water, where each of the hydrogen atoms in the water have a single proton, heavy water, the hydrogen atoms in heavy water have both a proton and a neutron. Each one of them do. Mm-hmm. So it's a heavy isotope, if you like, of water.
And you were saying?
Okay, in this particular cell, we use an electrical current to change the water into deuterium gas, the heavy water into deuterium atoms, rather. These are then forced into the lattice, the metal lattice, by the current, and are highly compressed in that lattice. They are compressed to the point and are retained close enough to each other for a long enough time that atomic fusion occurs.
All right, I want to get into the details of that experiment in the simplest terms possible in a couple of minutes, but let me just ask you, Mr. Fleischmann, this is also being hailed as the ideal energy source. Is that the case?
Yes, there would be many advantages in using it as an energy source, because, as was referred to in the run-in to this program, the reaction would be clean, the fuel supply would be, and as Professor Pons has said, the fuel supply would be plentiful, and it could, in this embodiment, be carried out, we think, in a very simple manner.
Mm-hmm. The fuel supply being inexhaustible, does that relate to this heavy water?
Yes, the content of heavy water in the sea.
Because as I read it this afternoon, it was the prevalence of seawater that made the supply so inexhaustible.
Yes, it's the content of heavy water in the sea, in the natural water in the sea, which would be the fuel in this instance. Does
it indeed have the potential of transforming the world's energy supply?
Well, if the engineering problems can be solved, certainly, yes.
Is that a big if?
I beg your pardon?
Is that a big if? You said if
Well, in any scientific investigation, in any investigation, there are always the problems of the science, and then there are the technical problems. But, of course, we do not see such massive technical problems in this instance as there might be in some of the other approaches which have been tried so far.
Now, you've described this process as ridiculously simple, something that could be done in a freshman chemistry class. Mr. Pons, in the simplest of terms, how exactly, you did this in the kitchen, right?
I think the kitchen thing has been blown up a little bit today.
Well, it's pretty
anyway,
sexy. Maybe that's why.
Yeah. Anyway, it's the simplest of electrochemical cells. It contains 2 electrodes. It contains a large palladium electrode that serves as the device for containing the deuterium. It contains another electrode, an anode, which is wrapped around that, but electrically isolated from it except by the solution between them. And you simply pass a current between the 2 electrodes.
How did you know you were how did you know you were creating nuclear fusion?
Well, first by the enormous amount of heat that was generated. There's no known chemical process or other process that we're aware of that could explain such huge amounts of energy. And subsequent to that, we have detected particles that are associated with nuclear fusion reactions over and above normal background.
How long did this go on? I mean, in time?
You mean the running of the cell?
Right.
We have sustained cells for several hundred hours over the last few years. The latest experiments we're running have been running 100 or 200 hours at very high energy outputs.
Mr. Fleischmann, was there anything else that you could see or feel during the course of this experiment?
Well, could you repeat the question, please?
Was there anything else that you could see or feel during the course of this experiment that gave you more information that you were actually generating nuclear fusion?
No, I think Professor Pons has given really the correct description. The main indication which we had that we had nuclear fusion was the extremely large release of and continued release of energy, of heat energy, from the electrode.
Scientists the world over and governments have spent, as I understand it, billions of dollars with very sophisticated equipment trying to generate the incredible amount of heat that would simulate the heat in the sun to create this reaction. What led you to think that you could do it at room temperature?
Well, the conditions in this cell, the conditions in the electrochemical cell are completely different to the conditions which are now investigated in the conventional approaches to nuclear fusion. I think one can best explain it in simple quantitative terms by saying that if you pass an electric current into the cathode under the conditions which we have used, then if you try to achieve the same conditions in the cathode by compression of the gas, you would need a billion atmospheres of, that is a billion times the pressure at the surface of the Earth. And it is this enormous compression of the species in the lattice which made us think that it might be feasible to create conditions for fusion in such a simple reactor.
What were the chances of this working, Mr. Pons?
What were the chances, or what?
I read today somewhere it was like 1 in a billion.
Well, I mean, we thought it was a very small chance. I don't know exactly how to answer what the odds are, but I mean, the science seemed perfectly reasonable. That's why we tried it. We just felt that many other things could have been going on, and that's what we've taken 4 years to check out, to make absolutely sure to our satisfaction that it is not due to any other process.
You heard the things that I articulated going into the piece about the possibilities with this kind of process, the cheap, inexhaustible, safe supply. What are some of the other benefits of this particular kind of energy that you can think of?
Greenhouse.
Well, yeah, to me, the most important asset of fusion energy is, of course, the elimination of pollution of our atmosphere, the greenhouse effect, pollution, the ozone penetration of our upper atmosphere. These things could be eliminated due to the fact we would not be putting anything into the atmosphere.
And also, I understood that it will have some effect on acid rain. Is that right, Mr. Fleischmann?
Yes, well, if you do not burn fossil fuel, you, of course, eliminate the production of sulfur dioxide, which is the cause of acid rain in our environment.
So, sorry.
Yes, well, any step to alleviate the production of carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide, of acid rain, and carbon dioxide pollution of the atmosphere is desirable.
What will it take to develop this technology into some usable, something usable for generating heat and electricity and energy? Mr. Pons?
Go ahead.
What?
Oh, I'm sorry. The technology that's going to be required can be envisioned. I mean, there are lots of different types of cells and a lot of different types of devices that you can imagine. Basically, what we're producing here, it will be, the first product will be hot water. So you would use this to either drive some sort of a generator or a turbine to generate electricity. Again, we think that the technology that we're facing here is much simpler to accomplish than the more conventional methods. So I think we have a very good chance of pulling it off.
How soon do you think we will see its benefits? How soon will it be possible to see its benefits?
Well, I think laboratory prototypes could be built fairly soon, but I would not look for a commercial device or a device 10 years. No, a minimum, that would be an absolute minimum, I think.
10 years?
20 years.
10 to 20 years? Mr. Fleischmann, many of the scientists our staff talked with today are skeptical about what you've done. How do you plan to convince them that this is really the breakthrough that it's being hailed as in some quarters?
Well, we have been skeptical about it now for 5 years. And as I explained earlier on this afternoon, you can never prove a scientific discovery right. You can only prove it wrong. And I think others will have to examine our results, extend them, and try and see whether our interpretation is in fact correct, or partly correct, or wholly correct. So only time will show whether this is so, and whether we can take the next step towards developing the technology.
Mr. Pons, when will this be available for scrutiny by the scientific community?
I would anticipate that it will be in the literature sometime in May.
Sometime in May? Well, thank you very much.
May I come back on this? May I come back on this, do you think?
Yes.
I would strongly urge everybody to wait until the work is described in the scientific literature before they attempt any such experiments.
Is there any particular reason for that?
Well, in any experiments on nuclear energy, one has to be cautious, and I think I would commend people to wait until the publications appear in May.
All right, well, that's a very good caution. I'm not sure I understood everything that you all said, but we'll look forward to the results of your work. Thank you very much, Mr. Fleischmann and Mr. Pons, for being with us.
Thank you very much.